Hi, everybody. Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well, if not very cold. It's very cold this morning. Clear sky, that was it. Clear sky last night. Not a cloud in the sky. So it's bloody freezing in the bunker today, in the Budham bunker. But anyway, I hope everyone is safe and well and keeping warm. If you're new, Andy, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. All good stuff. Maybe become a member. Why not? Why not? Why not? Anyway, as I said, hope everybody who we've got in the chat, let's have a quick look. Gazza's always in the chat. Always in the chat. Hope you're well, my friend. I thought we'd do something a little bit different today because we talk about transfers and we talk about, you know, who we're after, who we're not after, all that type of stuff. You know, like me, I love a heat map. I love a heat map. But also I like to sort of understand a bit more about and sort of get your views as well, because we'll come to it in a minute. I want to say hello to a few more people. Mick, good afternoon to you. Johnny Osborne, hope you are, my friends. 3 crossed hammers, a thumbs up, and a football emoji. Very good. Oz, hope you're well. Yeah, I'm very well, Gaz. Hope you're well too. Just very cold. I'm really cold at the moment. I just can't help it. Getting lots of God, that's my burp. Sorry. Yeah, get used to my thermals. Let's just say that. Still can't understand how I haven't caught COVID yet, because I think half of Flo's class have got it now, and she hasn't. So there we go. James, I like Plan B, very good, but prefer Professor Green. Speaking of rap and stuff like that, tomorrow night, 9 p.m, Governor B is going to be on the channel talking about, obviously, his single, the Isla stuff, but also about him and his West Ham journey. So that'll be on tomorrow night about 9 p.m. So make sure you tune in for that. He's a lovely bloke, Governor, doing a lot of good work, obviously, for Isla, and but he's a massive West Ham fan. So we're going to find out all about it. Why is a West Ham fan? Maybe get him to do a Hammers 11, all that type of stuff. So that'll be good fun indeed. Reva, good afternoon to you, sir. Gazza, hope you're well, my friend. Sorry, not Gazza, Black Country. Hope you're well. Yeah, so basically, obviously, we cover lots of transfer news. You know, every time someone comes up, and obviously, you know, we're not an ITK, but literally, if it's on Needs at Mother Brown, or it's on Claret and Hugh, or it's on Sky Sports, so we'll bring it to you. And as I said, I think for me, we've had over 70 players or something ridiculous that we've been linked with, and obviously a lot of them are forwards, and strikers and forwards are pretty much everyone that, you know, we seem to be desperate to get. But what does Moyes want? Because he's come out and said before that, you know, a press conference, I think on the Norwich and the Leeds press conference, he said basically how they were, you know, that Mickey needs a bit of, you know, we're looking for competition, and they've asked about him. He looked leggy. You know, he's taken over 2 years, and we haven't been able to find a replacement or a number 2 for Antonio. Antonio's on his podcast, the Footballers Podcast on BBC, has basically come out and said he wants a striker to compete with him. And obviously, you know, we know that we had a striker who we let go, who is banging the goals in for Ajax at the moment, and you know, I don't know what he wants, because, you know, we're led to believe that we put a bid in for Yusuf El-Nesyri last summer. Now, if that's the case, he's not an Antonio. So you know. So, you know, he's not going for the same person. So for me, it's like what I've done is I've done the heat maps. You know, I love a heat map, but some of the stuff's really interesting. And these are the guys that we've been linked with, as well as, you know, we look at Jesse Lingard. What did he bring last season as well? So a little bit more deep diving than just, we're going to get Andy Carroll. As always. Anyway, good afternoon, James. Father Snowman, good afternoon to you. Maz and Yarman, both my number 2s. Boom, boom, indeed. Right. Okay. As I said, these are the guys we've been linked with. And these are just on my channel. I know that there's a lot more. I've classified these as forwards, you know, strikers, or sort of, you know, people like Depay who would play up front, but obviously he could play slightly different. Obviously, I'm putting Lingard and people like that in there. So there's a lot of different types of players. We've got guys like, you know, Julian Alves, for example, who's, you know, very tricky striker, forward player. You've got someone like Aubameyang, who's been linked to Barbosa, Bio, Belotti. You've got them all there. Cabral, Jonathan David. Ben Diaz. All these are very, very different, very, very different people. So there's not like a, and I know obviously with rumors, a lot of it's agents talk and stuff, but there's a real hodgepodge in terms of the types of people, and particularly when he talks about El-Nesyri, and we know that he put a bid in for him. He's not Antonio Mark II 2.0. So you wonder, maybe his transfer target idea has moved on. I don't know. Let's quickly look in the chat before we start going for some stuff. Attila is on his way apparently from Fenerbahce, potentially. I'm sure Stell will pick it up tonight. If not, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Gaining a lot of traction. Scott, good morning to good afternoon to you in the UK. Russ Q Russ, would you like to see a transfer window cut down to 2 weeks? This is pointless. We're ending business the final few days. Difficult to police, isn't it? Really, I think a month's all right. I like a month; keeps us busy for a month, doesn't it? Because we're going to have 2 weeks. After Man United, we've got 2 weeks off, haven't we? We've got winter break. So, we can talk about transfers and stuff. And that's basically when it looks like everyone's going to do their transfers anyway. Don't think we played badly. A few players off, slight energy, even if we could have won it with better defence. We tried to play a bit and they again lost it. Totally agree, Hammer's dad. And a bit of perspective. That's what I like. What we got here? Afternoon Russ, afternoon Chris, afternoon all. If Moyes doesn't hurry up and put his finger out, he'll need a slap. Never mind a plan A or plan B. Fair enough to you. At 1 to 5k a week plus bonuses, Andy Carroll isn't the worst of options. That's not going to happen, James. We know that was a bit of a false story. I think that is. I'm sure Stell's going to pick up about it later on. Alex Cook he said West Ham getting Lingard is very much alive. We'll see. West Ham Irons, hope you're well. I only want one striker. Haller's been gone a year and still waiting. Indeed, 5:30 in Canada. Fair play to you, Scott. Well, hopefully we'll have it. You're probably having something with maple syrup. I hope so. Anyway, so let's go look at these heat maps. Anyway, so now I've shown this one before. This picture of Antonio's heat maps. This is what he's doing. This is what he's been doing. So, if Moyes wants someone like Antonio, we need someone who's going to basically be all over that attacking third, attacking half. He does a little bit of tracking back, as we know, but he's always in that top half. He's, there's a little bit of a red spot where the centre spot is, but he's not really a forward as a striker as such. He sort of drifts out onto the left quite a bit and gets a lot of assists as well. So let's say if we look at, maybe look at someone like. Maybe look at someone like who we got. I think we've got Lingard. So this was Lingard. So obviously last year. So this is Lingard's stats for last year for us in terms of his heat map. And you can see, he offered, obviously he wasn't a forward. He's not Antonio. He's not an out and out striker. But quite often off he was put in almost like a false 9 position. And you can see there's a lot of, there's not a lot in the box, is there? So there's not a lot in the box. So, and obviously, but he bagged himself 9 goals, and a return on investment on that loan. If he comes back, will he do that again? Who knows? But, he's got some emphasis, I think. But then he had emphasis last year in terms of, last season he was trying to get into the Euro squad and he didn't quite make it. So now it's like, well, if he comes, he's got, the best part of a year to get into the World Cup squad. Why do all that? Why do all these heat maps look like my mother who never loved me? That psychology test. They always look like bloody spiders to me. Let me just move this up a little bit here. So, anyone want to do my washing up? No, Chris. Sorry, mate. People, wake up. There'll be no signings at all. They even want us to build us up. I'm fed up with all these lies, Victor. Oh, Victor. We'll see, innit? We'll see. I just hope we don't go the whole transfer of no cover for Antonio. We've had several times before that's happened. So let's not count our chickens until they hatch. But at least we can look at some interesting heat maps. And if they look like your mother who never loved you, I do apologise. And then look at El-Nesyri. So, so as I said, Antonio is very much, all over the place, focal point, drops off, provides assists. We know that Moyes has a thing for El-Nesyri. And, he was, as you said, there was strong rumours that we tried to get him in the summer, but he didn't want to come to us, which is fair enough. But now there's a potential openness for him to come to us. Now, look at his heat maps, completely different. He's not an Antonio 2.0, so he is a plan B. So if that's the case, why is Moyes coming out and saying we can't fight? We've been looking for 2 years for a replacement for Antonio, when actually the guy you really want to see, if you've been, we know you've been wanting to try and get him, isn't that person. So I don't really understand. Maybe it's one way now rather than that plan B. I don't know. But you'll see, compared to Antonio, I can do this. That's cool. Compared to Antonio, it's completely different. And this was obviously El-Nesyri's heat map last season, because he hasn't played a lot of games for Seville this year. So I took last season as a whole, just as a more simple comparison. So I just thought it was quite interesting. Everton are a mess, apparently interviewing Lampard. Is that the Lampard who didn't get the Villa job as well? Rolling back the years, Carroll and Tompkins says he'll lace up his boots as well. Indeed. Buying Nketiah, we need to get rid of him. Thanks. Cheers. Giving us. I thought it was Martinez. I believe, I think Martinez is trying to get out of, or trying to come to some arrangement with the Belgium national side, I believe, because obviously he manages them and they come to the World Cup and stuff. Carroll will be Brill. Carroll's not happening. It's not going to happen. Wasn't it that board that got rid of Martinez? But it was indeed. But then David Moyes, hello. We let David Moyes go away 18 months. We got him back with open arms. All's been forgiven. So who knows? Right, let's have a look. So who else we got? Now, obviously, there was rumours around Traore, and obviously, to me, he is Antonio 2.0, really. And actually, his heat map isn't that different from an Antonio. Antonio's a little bit more all over the place, but he played a lot more games as well, so naturally he would do. Whereas Traore's is very similar. So I can see that. I know there was a lot of joking, and Wolves are buying in the process now of buying a right winger. I think it's about £3 million. We were looking at him, Kikilino or something like that from Brazil. That looks like that's Traore's replacement. So I wouldn't be surprised if Traore ends up moving this transfer window. So if he does, for example, if he did come to us, he is an Antonio 2.0. We know he's the only viable Antonio 2.0 out there. So, I mean, it's interesting when you look at it, and again, that's totally different from an El-Nesyri, so it's like there's so much there you can look at, and it's so much you can pull apart. Who else have I done? Sebastian Haller. That's Sebastian Haller in Ajax at the moment, absolutely banging them in. He's got a goal, he's got ridiculous scoring, pedigree in the Champions League as well. He's got something silly like 9. He scored in 9 consecutive, his first 9 Champions League appearances, or someone ridiculous like that. So, sometimes you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Maybe he was our plan B, but he was just wrong time, wrong place. And, for example, I was hearing today Arsenal were sniffing around for him potentially. You're going to come back to bite you in the bum. He is. He really, really is. He ain't a bad player. He just didn't work in the system. But then if Moyes is, is this good? Is this forward you want to bring in gonna be this system changer, or is he going to be just slotting as another piece into Moyes' plan A, so to speak? I think, to be honest, you need all the parts for it to work, in my opinion. West Ham need a striker. Antonio will be leaving very shortly, and I can just hear them moaning about travelling already. He is, Kevin. He will be. There is him and Lanzini will be out during the international break, by all accounts. I think Antonio has 3 matches in 7 days. I think we'll probably do a little bit about that maybe tomorrow. And Manuel has 2 in a week for Argentina, so potentially. So, after the Man United game until the Kidderminster game on Feb the 5th, I want to say, it's a 2-week winter break. And so, he will be travelling quite a bit. Getting my back bacon and maple syrup on. I like it. Fabio from Fulham was mentioned. He is. Yeah, we'll talk about him tomorrow if he hasn't been spoken about already tonight. He's going Spurs. That's where my money would go if I was a betting man. Fair play. I don't mind Haller. We just didn't use him properly. Exactly. Not necessarily a Moyes striker, but he was... Yeah, and that's the trouble with a plan B striker. I mean, if you spend a lot of money on El-Nesyri, for example, is he going to be happy to be follow up to be back up to Antonio, because that's essence what a plan B is, and even a 2.0, even a Traore, for example, or someone like that. Is he going to be the same? I think I find it fascinating because everyone's been banging on about striker for so long. The one transfer window where we didn't get a striker, well, we haven't got a striker for a while, but when we got Jesse Lingard, wasn't a striker, but delivered goals which arguably maybe a striker wouldn't have delivered in terms of his return on investment. So Chris thinks Traore scored for Wolves, ball through to him, outpace exactly how you play him as a striker. And that's what they're doing, aren't they, to be honest? Okaflex covers a lot of pitch and he's good in the air. The under-23 is a joy to watch. He certainly is. Very, very exciting player to watch indeed, Scott. If ever they do a live stream on the older YouTube of the games, watch it and watch Okaflex. As I said, the boy is brilliant. I love the way, he's when I've seen him play live, most people would trap a ball with their instep. He would Rabona trap the ball. He's that skillful. He's fantastic. I really rate him. Right, what we got here for a person who has been in the game for. Let me do this one. But while you would think Traore would have worked on his finishing, but then don't forget Antonio. To be honest, Antonio, he's had 2 good seasons where he scored 10 plus goals, and then because of that, he's now, the top Premier League goal scorer of all time for West Ham, which is incredible considering up until then he'd been here for a long time and not necessarily scored consistently because he'd been playing out of position, not out of position, but been playing him on the wing rather. So he'd been converted. So there's plenty of time for someone like a Traore to come in. I mean, how old is Traore now? Let's have a quick look. Adama Traore, I imagine he's probably about 25, 26, isn't he? 25. So when did Antonio join us? Michael Antonio. So you can see, I mean, Michael Antonio is 6 years older than him. He's 31, so he would have joined us, I would say. Didn't do my stats. So he joined us in 2015. So he's been here for 7 years. So it's very similar sort of path, isn't it, really, thinking about it? And to be honest, until the last few seasons, Antonio was stuck on playing right back, right wing. So it's only quite recently that he's had that sort of trajectory in terms of, moving to a forward position. Interesting. I'm like Columbo. For a person who's been, so out of all interests, strikers we're linked to, who would you personally choose for? Well, I'm going to start that, Dabby, and then we'll ask that question right at the end. We'll go for it for everyone. Haller have been good this year with the amount of crosses. Indeed. Didn't get reminders, Davidson. Oh, that's a shame. Sorry, ladders. I do apologise. Sometimes they drop out. I can't always, just check your subscribed and stuff, and you go back and watch it. That's fine. Watch it at your own pace. For me, I would like to see us a lad from Fabio out of contract summer. He's a very good player, Fabio. We'll talk about that. I would love to see Carl Larin come in. Indeed, a younger version of we have been linked to him. I've definitely spoken about him already. Who would totally fit our system. I think a poach would fit our system. We're more capable in getting up the pitch without using Antonio. But the thing is, that poacher role is very old-fashioned now. I mean, there's not many. Even like you're looking at, your Danny Ings and Vardy's. They've now these sort of forward positions rather than a striker as such. That's all Tony Cottee, Jermaine Defoe, Chicharito. You don't get them anymore in the game. But maybe we should. Maybe it would suit us better. And you're seeing that now with Bowen, who's taken a much more sort of striker position. I mean, look at his last few goals. They've all been inside the 6-yard box, really. Sort of strikers' goals. Alvarez is sure safe bet. Origi safe bet. And Nketiah, if you want a young striker for years who could mould. Yeah, agree. He's only a goal or two back from, he is, but he's been there for 18 seasons, though, and he's got to be honest. It must be a good. I do love a heat map indeed. Antonio would have a thigh measurement chart. Yeah, Anton rather. Yeah, he would do. Perhaps some people have got the knack of finishing. Indeed, without a less physical Antonio type player, you need a lot of pace out wide to stretch teams. We haven't got that, hence the need for physical in my current squad. Very good point, Mr. Mace. Very good point indeed. I think we will test on the last day of a 10 million bid for Origi. We'll see. See you get to the ground at 8:30. What breakfast delights? We don't have breakfast delights. They provide. We had what was it? Bangers and mash like 11:30. I didn't get it. Didn't understand it. Anyway, let's move on. We've got a few more of our people we're linked with. As we showed them Haller, Barbosa. We've shown this one before, but Barbosa arguably has maybe more of a Haller approach to him. Yeah, he's got a hot spot in the penalty box and in the box, but he drifts out. But where Antonio drifts out more to the left, he drifts out more to the right. So there's similarities. You can see why his name's been sort of linked with us. Compare that to Cabral, who's again, he's very much El-Nesyri-esque. I mean, look at that massive heat spot right in the middle of the box. You know, that's where his bread and butter is. He is a striker. You know, he is a forward. He's going to hang around in that box and goal poach. Drifts out a little bit onto the left, but not loads. I mean, there's a few hot spots, but not millions of miles away. Not like Antonio, who's almost like hugs that touchline. So, you know, again, you've got these different sided type approaches. Richard, good afternoon to you. I would like a left-sided centre half and a striker this window. I think that's basically what everyone wants. In both cases, I would want them to be improvements on what we've got. Problem with Antonio is that he plays most of the games at 75%. Whereas when we try and do his ratings, based on when I look at the pitch, he could have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, that's that temperamental. There's no consistency, and I think that's what we want. We need that consistency, don't we? He's a fantastic player. He tries his hard out, and he's scored. He's done very well. But I think sometimes you want that consistent plan B option. That's the way I would see it. But I am merely talking to you in Allchurch, not in Rush Green. Apparently, because Bowen missed that chance against, he shouldn't be given the chance for England squad. Ridiculous. Origi Liverpool would be so perfect. The board should be all over it. Given come out and he wanted to leave Enfield. Well, I think, to be honest, it really depends, doesn't it? I mean, as I said, it takes two to tango, as I've always said in terms of transfers. You know, you don't want to. You don't want to have a situation where, you know, we're going to put a bid in, but then Liverpool have to accept the bid, and we have to accept the perception that we're in Liverpool's league now, or we're at the bottom of that league, that sort of top 6 league. Realistically, I think, you know, in terms of how much money we've got, in terms of we're never going to win the league. In this current state, we won't. But you know, we're in that sort of hunt for Champions League and Europa League, which I think's our ceiling. To be honest, I think that's our ceiling. To be fair, and I think Liverpool, you know, won't sell to us to improve our squad to their detriment. I just can't see it happening. I can't see it happening. In the summer, yes, I can, because he'd be out of contract. But in the summer, and you know, for a few million quid, it's not worth them. It's not worth their bother. You know, he could be the one who scores the goal, which puts us in the Champions League and condemns them to the Europa League. Could be, you know, could be easily. So we'll see. Stranger things have happened at sea. Now, Diaz is someone that we've been heavily linked with. Brereton Diaz, the Chilean international from Blackburn, 25 million quid. We've been linked with him for. But you know, he's had a fantastic run. I mean, he's in a real hot streak at the moment. But you know, he's gone round the houses before until this season. And I think Blackburn are trying to capitalise on that. Whether they get the money for him would be one thing, or the fact is his goals could have basically single-handedly got them into the promotional discussion. But he's not I was about to say that. Literally, I was about to say it. I don't think he's a Premier League player. And I think for 25 million, 25 million seems to be the going rate for a decent Championship player into the Premier League at the moment. And for me, I just think I don't know what he'd offer. You know, he knows the back of the net in the Championship, no doubt about that. But for West Ham, where would he fit into the team? Where would he fit into the format? He's not an Antonio. You know, I think Antonio's great at, the fact is he's all over the pitch and he's physical, so he can hold the ball off. He gets a lot of assists. Obviously, he got an assist against Leeds when we sort of dribbled it somehow and got a little touch to Fornals, who went through and scored. And that's what he does. Now, you know, you either your poacher who stays in the box, who's quick, and who was it? Someone made a really good point. I think it was Mr. Mace made a really good point about that, which I'm gonna star as well. As he said, without a less physical type play, you need a lot of pace to stretch them out. Now, I don't think he's necessarily got that blistering pace to stretch them, and he tends to hug that left touchline quite a lot. So, you know, is he a replacement for Vlasic then? Well, then that's not the striker we want. And, are we replacing a risky, £30 million player with maybe a £25 million player who could be a risk? I don't know. There's so many questions. I find it fascinating. I really do. We need a bastard up top. Oh, see, you're my way. As I said, if I could go back and cryogenically seal, Marko Arnautovic in the 2018 role, before his brother got into his ear about going to China, and bring him back now, no problem at all. I honestly think he was perfect for this because he had enough pace to get past people. He had that arrogance as well, which I think you need to put a striker up on your own. And also, he just had a trick on him, and he was very, very skillful. Not and an absolute bastard. I remember that the game against, was it Burnley, when he sort of literally laughed in Ben Mee's face like that close, and it was like, he's a bastard, but he's our bastard. A clinical finish over prolific striker for me. I agree. I think you want someone who when there's a chance. Too often not, we've had situations where we've this season particularly more than ever. I think, James, we win games 2-0, but we should have won the game 4-0, and it's only in situations where we had, like on Sunday, where Bowen at the end, it's like. There's a couple, in the first game, when he went through and he hit the post, he hit the crossbar, he dinked it, just not enough. It was, frustrating. Russ, was it true that Carroll was and he was visiting? I think it's all bollocks, to be honest, ladders, in terms of inciting. He could well have turned up and be doing training. But I don't know, to be honest. Haller didn't want to be here. We struggled against tall defenders, and Carroll would be benefiting those games potentially. Yeah, but I think by the time Moyes has come in, Haller had made his mind up. Do you know what I mean? So I think if Moyes had brought in a Haller now, I think you see a very different player. Very different. I can see Moyes getting that rabbit out of a hat and pulling out a huge rabbit. We'll see. To pry away the most informed winger from a club that's dependent from the top four, look, it's unless the player forces a move. Exactly, OW. That's the thing. And then we'll be criticised. And then the trouble is, we'll be criticised for overpaying. So, someone like Digne, for example, Villa massively overpaid for it. He's on 150, 160 grand a week. They paid 25 million quid. He's 29. That's what we would have done under the Pellegrini era, to be honest. I'd rather go and spend the money on, if Kent's in the chat, but on a Lee Buchanan from Derby, or the boy Hickey from from Torino. Roma, sorry. So no, it's not. Is it Rona? Torino? Serie A. So so that's what I'd rather do. That's the new West Ham way. It's not necessarily going by. I mean, I think Digne 2 years ago, perfect, but not now, not for that money. And if you're going to go and spend a 29-year-old, go and get someone like Kazawa from PSG, who will cost you 9 million quid, won't cost you 160 grand a week, and wants to fight to get into the French squad. Yeah, he's a bit of a bastard, but Moyes did a good job on Arnautovic, and he was a bastard. So I like Diaz. Yep, we said that. I think too much is being made of selling to rival clubs. Think about how many players have gone between in the past. Yeah, but that was then. I don't think now you don't see as much movement between the greedy six now, do you? Back in the day, you used to, but I don't think now was. I can't. I'm trying to think. I can't think of a major. Like, if you can, let me know, because but I can't think of one. From what I've seen about Schlick, he could be the one for me. Well, let's talk about Schlick more like in a minute. More like Martin Armienko 2.5, but he could work out. Plus, he seems the Moyes type. Dan James cost Leeds £25 million exactly. If he wasn't 35, I'd look at Lewis Grabbing. Dan James like a panic buy indeed. Right, let's have a look, because we've got a few more I want to get through, and then we'll get some more comments and all that jazz. So yes, that was Diaz. Now we'll be linked to this guy from Strasbourg, Ajorke, and it was just because I just saw he was linked to him. Again, this guy I think has a little bit more, he seems to be a nice sort of in the middle. He spends a lot of time in the box, but he does drift out both sides and wide. So this was obviously last year in Ligue 1. Was it this year in League? Oh, but still, he's playing well for Strasbourg at the moment. But we're linked to him. We'll talk about more of him. Ludovic as your key. So we'll talk about more of him maybe tomorrow, if not tonight. So, that's something someone else would like. I think there's a real sort of that could be interesting. Now Schlick, look at Schlick's. This was this season. He's been banging them in in the Bundesliga for Bayern Leverkusen, but he's a very different type of player. Ideally, basically not a very mobile player. In terms of where Antony's all over the bloody place, Schlick's then tends to stay very, very central. So it would mean potentially, I know he's going to come with a hefty price tag, but there's that he's a plan B. But because of the price tag, would that assume that you're going to have to play a completely different way to accommodate him? With Antonio there as well, he's still very much in the eyes of being number one. There's so many things to go through. I mean, we could get Cabral left back for the price of Diaz. It looks like, is an actual available at 15 million. We should be all over that. I think we are, because I think the assumption was it was going to Chelsea. Zayala, and it's not happening now. So if we still had Arnie top for us this season, we'd probably be a safe cushion top four. I totally agree, OW. I totally agree. On Alex Kral Instagram, or comments his post saying free cancer. let Kral play. Oh dear, this time he is wonderful for striker suggestions. Mainly players someone bought on FIFA. Yep, I'm convinced that real life's console January indeed. And hashtag heat maps. Hashtag heat maps. Let's get it trending. Right, everyone's talking to each other. We can't attract top strikers. So anyone we get is a bit of a risk, but we took risks with Bowen and the Czech boys. They're all worth more. I'm very surprised we don't seem to have a plan. Well, that's to me. I mean, I think there is a plan, but I just think it's a lot of these things. You hear people talk about transfers. A lot of these is sort of a domino effect. Something has happened to something has to happen to something has to happen, and even more so in the COVID era now. Now, I'm not saying we're going to buy Traore, but Wolves aren't going to sell him until they get a player in. Now, rumour is they're going to spend £3 million on this Klinko from Brazil, who we were looking at as well. He's a right winger. So if that's the case, you would say, okay, well, he can come in. Now we can sell. And then the chain reaction occurs, and then maybe then this is just theoretical. But then say we bought Traore, and then we can say, right, okay, well, we've got him now, so then Yarmolenko can go out, and that's how it all works. And it's even more so of a case, I think, today in this sort of COVID era when you have one COVID case and then you can cancel the game. Although I might do a thing about that maybe tomorrow, because I did some lovely analysis on me, I love a bit of analysis on went through all the games and the teams. It's quite interesting who's at the top and who's at the bottom in terms of having games called off due to COVID. They want to keep Rice happy. They certainly do. I honestly think we'll be bringing in players. Keep faith. We're in a surprise or two, I reckon. I don't think you're going to get any. I think until after Man United, then you're going to see a lot of transfers, a lot of movement of players because there's the winter break. Although the only fly in the ointment is there is internationals. So for the Southern American and the Central American, and I think isn't it some European teams as well. England haven't got any internationals. They're not until March. I found out the other day as we're planning a charity event with Iron Supporting Food Banks very soon, and I'd planned it on England Day. So there we go. That's going to be changed. More about that very soon. We confirm the day. We seem to have brought in more players during our relegation battle, but Gaz, I think a lot of people have. You look at who's done business in the in terms of transfers. It is. Man City ain't bought no one, Chelsea ain't bought no one, Liverpool ain't bought no one, Arsenal ain't bought no one, Tottenham ain't bought no one. We've bought no one. I think the furthest is Wolves, who bought a player and then loaned him back to the same club. It is the relegation battles where there's like Newcastle, Everton, Burnley have sold, so they'll have to start buying. Aston Villa, they're sort of, mid-table. So Aston Villa and Wolves are probably the highest team that have actually bought someone and done some business. So it is more about the relegation because there's the rewards of getting to the Champions League are phenomenal, but the rewards of staying in the Premier League are even more phenomenal for teams in the bottom. And I think that's why, Watford have bought a few players in. as I said, I'm surprised Norwich haven't done any business really yet either, particularly with Dean Smith in charge. You thought he would have sort of assumed that was going to happen. Villa have been more rebuilding than necessarily for any sort of push or relegation. But yeah, interesting. What we got here? If we were to sign a decent striker, I think he goes straight in. Yeah, fair enough. We can't have a backup to Antonio. He has to be number one. What about? Yeah, very good. Nice try, Dan. Nearly. I'm going to give you the benefit because that's a good one. That's one I'd use. When I used to work at Pizza Hut, I used to do that. I was a manager. I used to put in fake orders and a bit like sort of Moyes and The Simpsons and Bart Simpson. Yeah, Eric Shun was very good. Make sure you put that for Stale ones tonight. That's a good one. That's nice. I like that. And I like the way you sort of you put the Eric and there's I would have probably gone for a C rather than a K. What happened to being linked with that Dutch lamppost, Vort Weghorst? Nothing's come about of that actually. Anyway, let's have a look at a few more. Now, Jonathan David is someone we've been interested in, and obviously he's been absolutely on fire for Lille. But then everyone's been on fire for Lille in League A, to be honest. He's not an out striker. And he's 40 million quid, and I'd say he's probably, I know Carrot and Blues do sort of like tiers, tier A, tier B, tier C, and or level 1, level 2, something like that. And he's sort of level 2. He's sort of up there with Schlick and protect possibles, not definites, but possibles. But it would cost a lot of money. He doesn't hang around in the box a lot. He drifts out to the right quite a bit. So, he's not going to be our out and out striker that we want. Yeah, most of his time he seems to spend, just inside the second, inside the opposition half. So, thank you, Michael. Thank you. Sorry, mate. Seriously, Patrick, it would be. I think Schlick would offer us something very different than what we've got, and I like that as an option. Now, Belotti is someone who everyone been talking about. Real bastard player. Real nasty. I really like Belotti. This was taken from last year because he hasn't made that many. I think he's only made about half a dozen appearances, and then he scored a couple of goals this term. So I looked at last season as a whole, and you can see, to be fair. I mean, looking at his heat map, it's very similar to maybe Antonio, arguably with a bit more central, with a bit more up front, possibly. Where Antonio seems to be all over the bloody place, and Belotti hangs out very much on the left-hand side, which is great for someone like Bowen. So he has more space on the right-hand side, to cut inside. Who knows? Belotti, I think, could be an interesting one. 28 though, so he's goes slightly against the grain. But then Jesse Lingard went against the grain in terms of being that sort of top, 28, 29. No sell-on value. There would be no sell-on value for Belotti, but I think you could maybe get a bid in for him. Who knows? He's hardworking, but age must be against. I mean, as I said, he's 28, isn't he, Michael? So possibly. Love Belotti, been linked to us for years, now or never. Clinical. And isn't he a West Ham fan or something like that? I've got a feeling he might be a fan. It might be a weird, or is it? No, I tell you what it is. It's Buffon randomly. But I thought Belotti, there was something to do with West Ham as well. Put a bid in for Lewandowski. Yeah, okay. Was it the world? Did he win like one of the world awards yesterday? Yeah, we'll get him. Just put 3 million quid in. Be all right, won't it? Sorted. Who else we got? Andy Carroll. Do. Andy Carroll. Do. Andy Carroll. Anyway, I thought that was quite funny. I'll just put that in. That's how he's doing for Reading at the moment. Literally, he stands at the centre spot, then he goes into midfield, and then he stands in the top. But he's been banging him in for Reading. He's been playing well for Reading, so fair play to him. But he's not coming. There's no way Andy Carroll's coming. What we got here? Spotted in the Docklands. You heard it here first. Mbappe, he's found where Milenkovic is. He's still there as well. And then he's basically, what has happened, he's come in and he's gone to the same place where the medicals happened for Ida Johnson and Carlos Bacca as well. It's like a big room. It's like, the worst panic room in the world. They just haven't let them out. What we got here, Andy Calgrave corners. Norwich, West Ham are monitoring. Yeah, I mean, we was looking at Mitrovic before, weren't we? As a cheap. I mean, he's on fire at the moment. You talk about a bastard player. He's a bastard player, but I just don't think he's got. I don't know whether there's is he? I think he's just a bit too uncontrollable for my liking. Get Buffon on the Hammers 11. I will have a word. Andy Carroll's our best defender. Well, you look at him there. He does a lot of defensive work. Look, load of defensive work. He's all over the place simply because he's a lone striker. You have two up across the reins. Exactly, Kevin. Exactly. And if that's what Moyes wants, then he has to look for someone who has a similar distribution. Would be good. When we run out of options, just lump it and hope. Possibly, as Preview isn't great in the Premier League. Yeah, exactly. I think Championship is his level. Who else we got? Mohamed Bayo from Clermont. We were linked with. Again, he's a bit more like Antonio, to be honest, in terms of not necessarily an out and out striker, not like a goal poacher. He tends to sort of drift in and holds up the ball in midfield quite a lot, turns and paces, has a few assists to his name as well. So again, interesting. Who else we got? That's it. Oh, that's it. Oh, what a shame. So I'll just zoom through them all so you've seen them all, because some people might have got in a bit late. So that's Antonio's. That was Jesse Lingard's last season, all over the bloody place. El-Nesyri last season, as I said, very much a goal poacher. Traore, a little very similar to Antonio, really. Maybe not as many hot spots, but it's because he hasn't played as many games partly. That's Haller's this season. Loves that centre spot. Loves that goal spot. Barbosa's. Cabral, again, more of a forward, I'd say, a striker poacher. Diaz is very much tugging that left wing. Would he be if he came in, I can't see him being a replacement for Antonio. Ajorki from Strasbourg, who we've been linked to this week. Again, he looks like he's had his head shaved as well. He looks like a right bastard, I tell you. Check him out. Schlick very much in that centre spot, that goal poacher you want. Jonathan David all over the place a little bit. Again, not necessarily the striker you want, but he plays in the 3, doesn't he? If I'm right in believing. Belotti last season all over the place. Left. Does a lot of hold it up and gets a lot of assists as well. As Andy Carroll, and there's Mohamed Bayo. So there we go. Will be interesting. We need someone that can win a header from Fab's clearances. We need someone, or yes. So who's not going to be? But then that's Antonio 2.0 then, isn't it? And so for me, when people come in now in terms of links, I'm like, Antonio 2.0 or Plan B, and you get some in the Venn diagram in the middle, but it's usually one or the other. And I don't think Moyes really knows what he wants. To be honest, I think for me, I think maybe with Rob Newman coming in, it's changed maybe the perception of who we want to bring in. As I said, last season was all about we wanted El-Nesyri. El-Nesyri is nothing like Antonio, And then Moyes comes out and says today, not today, but yesterday, on Sunday, that it's difficult trying to get replacements. I think the previous game they spoke about Antonio, he's gone 2 years trying to find a replacement for Antonio. So it's like, well, what's going on? So we'll wait and see. I mean, I'm with you, Dabby, to be honest. I've got total faith in David. I know I have faith in him. I still worry about us looking to the French league. They have a few gems, but the level of football is just nowhere near the Prem. But I think to be honest, Dublin, we've said this before. You look at the people that potentially we would be interested in the Premier League, for example. We're going to be paying top dollar for them if they send them to us, if they let us have them. Whereas I think Bundesliga, Serie A, Liga, we've got the financial clout to buy players. I mean, how much would someone like Jonathan David be worth if he was playing for Arsenal? You look, say he's 40 million quid in Liga, 60, 70 million. I mean, they paid how much for Pepe? He'd be in that bracket. By going, it's like when you go to you go to get your duty free. It's cheaper. It's cheaper on in the continent, and I think it really is. And I think you get more for your money, but there's that risk because they're not Premier League ready. But I think or you go down the Championship route. And some great guys we've mentioned before. We've got Lewis Porter from Hull. We've got Brennan Johnson. We've talked about Diaz. We've talked about the midfield players like Jason Knight and people like that. So for Derby, so there's people out there. But again, it's like people talk about Kiefer Moore from Cardiff. I don't really fancy that one myself, but if we did that, people go, "Oh, we're penny pinch." You know, I don't. So I think you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Wherever you go, to be honest, there's always a plus. There's always a positive and a negative. I think with every transfer, you know, it's an unknown sort of. Oh, it's a good value. It's an unknown source. You know, that straight away, it's like, well, you know, you can't count the Premier League, but he's cheap. It's like, well, he's a good. You know, so I don't know what we can do. Suset to win headers, Traore to chase the flick on. Job done. If Moyes can get Traore to settle down in front of goal, the UPL will be a rude awakening. I totally agree. Could you imagine? Honestly, and then there'll be some. And honestly, I can see it. Some days they'll both be playing on the same pitch at the same time, and if I was a back four, would be shitting myself, absolutely shitting myself. You'd play two up front, wouldn't you? Just I'd have a giggle. Kidderminster, have a giggle. You know what I mean? Just see it. Actually, it's probably cup time, but you know what I mean. It'd be absolute carnage. Antonio Traore, Akim Fenwa, your next WE. We're only two to be tag team champions, James, as you should know, being a wrestling fan. But you know, if you're doing a trios championship, then fair enough. Or maybe Akim Fenwa is maybe it's like the New Day. All these names will be tearing our hair out, Russ? We always are, mate, Gaz, and that's why we bring. That's why we do it for you, so you don't have to troll through all the websites. That's what we do for you guys to make sure that you know you don't have to do all that. We try, and then we give you our honest opinion. You give us our honest opinion, and that's what I love. 3 members. Oh yeah, sorry, I do apologise. They could play the free birds rule, and you're totally right. I do apologise, James Farmer. But yeah, I doff my cap. But tag teams usually 2. But yeah, you can play the free birds rule. Do we get VAT back on the continental signings? Never know. 20% back, 20% of 40 million. Hello, that's 8 million quid. You see, I can do the stats. I can do the here for thinking, down there for dancing. 8 million quid back on the old VAT. Don't think it happens, but anyway. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, something a bit different. We'll bring back and as I said, we had some. What's the start? We've done that one. So you know, so let's just quickly answer this question. That OW said, out of all the realistic strikers, who do you want? One name, just one name in the chat. Who do you want? I'd be interested to see what you guys say. One name in the chat. Who would it be? What we got here? Patrick, if they register for charitable status, Mr. Bud Unbelievability. Well, as I said, the Bud Unbelievability barometer is now the Russie rumor rating, the original rumor rating. None of your Claret here. I was first. So yeah, it's the Claret. It's the Russie rumor rating. We'll be back in force tomorrow. No, it won't. It'll be back in force Thursday night. Tomorrow night we have got Governor B coming on, so it'll be a really nice chat with him, and we'll be talking about everything. No VAT, but they can pick up duty free on the way. Indeed, want to kick charge at the end of the season. We'll see. Where's the Tevez heat map? Well, unfortunately, he's retired, so we're not going to buy him. We got Lukaku. Oh dear! At least he wouldn't score against us, would he? Origi, Belotti. Belotti, Gabigol, failing Belotti, maybe Marshall. So we'll say Belotti, Barbosa, Schlick, Origi for sure. Backer, Carlos Backer, still there. Idega Johnson, Sean White Phillips. I want Martial, but not sure if the links would have been enough. Yeah, we got Eric. He's in. Alves, number 1 for sure. And Ketia, a safe bet. Strong. I've been strong enough. Yeah. So it seems. I mean, it seems a whole sort of. Everyone wants everyone. Get Braga to buy the players, then loan them back to us. Fair enough. I mean, there's a few for Belotti. There's a few for Gabigol or Barbosa. A couple for Origi. One for Ericsson. Very good. I'd love more Muriel. Oh, from where's he playing now? Where's Muriel playing now? Where's he playing at? He was playing. Is he still playing in Italy? Luis Muriel, isn't it? Where is he at? He's 30 now, isn't he? Is he at Atalanta? Where is he at? Atalanta. Yeah, he's at Atalanta. Great shout. But 30 though. He's at 30 though. He's the wrong side, isn't it? Atalanta. Haaland. I just want someone. We just want someone. But then we want someone, but we don't want Andy Carroll. So or Jermaine Defoe as well, which that he's left Rangers, but he doesn't want to retire. So there we go. Anyway, guys, I'm going to shoot. Thank you so much for your time as always. And bend over. Yeah, just get bend over. Ericsson and bend over, and Phil Moras as well. They can all come along together as a 3. 3 transfer deal. Mad to see how split everyone is. Nice to see how many realistic options. Yeah, that's what I mean. Everyone's got an opinion, don't they? Everyone thinks this one, but that's it. That's it, man. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. Tell your friends how much fun you had today. Or maybe become a channel member. Hit the membership button and feel free to join and support the channel that way as well. If not memberships, subscriptions free. Be great to have you as always, and great for you to join us. As I said, keep an eye out for everything. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any content we've got coming up. And also, we'd like to thank all our channel members personally at the end of our little video. So take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Get your jab appointments. Get your boosters. Come on, your irons. And speak to you soon. Much love. See ya.
It's like a family tree, part of you and part